In this video, we'll go through some of the calculations that you have to take into account if you're thinking about leasing a vehicle. So let's start just by talking about how leasing is advertised. What you'll find a lot of the time is that leases are advertised without including taxes. So here's an example from the Mazda website where you can build the perfect Mazda that you want, and it tells you how much it'll cost and how much it'll cost to finance and all that. And up here there's this little box that is by default unchecked to not include taxes. And then it tells you the monthly cost to finance this thing for 48 months and the monthly cost to lease it for 48 months. And you look at those numbers and you go, oh great. But let's be realistic here, you're going to have to pay taxes. You can't avoid it. So if you check the taxes box with the same conditions, 48 months, you find those monthly costs jump up quite significantly. One of the things I actually really like about this Mazda website is that it doesn't do the include taxes by default. Once you click that box, you get a very complete picture of how much you're going to be paying. And so here's the monthly cost for financing and the monthly cost for leasing. Let's look at the total that it would cost to finance. Now, one thing that is actually a little misleading is that most people are not going to qualify for this 0% APR. So chances are that this rate's going to be higher and that monthly amount is going to increase. But I don't have the ability to customize that here in the calculator, so we just have to accept it. Now the financing amount. Let's calculate the financing amount. So $405.63 per month. You pay that every month for 48 months. That means the total amount for financing the vehicle comes to $19,470.24. Now this is actually a little bit different than the balance to finance that they gave us there. Not sure exactly why, but it's pretty close. So, whether they're not rounding something that we've rounded or including something that we haven't considered, I'm pretty happy with how those numbers compare to each other. Now the next part is the leasing cost. That amount is $285.12 times 48 for 48 months, and we get a total cost to lease of $13,685.76. So you look at those two costs and you think, well, leasing's a lot cheaper. But now I want you to consider what the difference is. So the difference, if I subtract these two numbers, is $5,784.48. So that's the difference in those two options. Now I want you to consider the fact that this is a $16,000 sticker price or all-in price of $17,300 car. After 4 years, 48 months is 4 years. If you think that the car that you bought, this Mazda, is worth more than $5,784, then you are better off to finance it. Because if you choose the financing option, you own this car. Whereas if you lease it, yeah, you've saved $5,784, but you do not own the car after that amount. And chances are that you're going to pay more than $5,784 if you choose to purchase the car after you finish leasing it, which is the option that you get at the end of a lease. I just want to give you one more warning. Dealerships will always tell you the lowest price that they are legally allowed to get away with. So I was searching for used cars for examples in this course, and I found this Volkswagen dealership that was advertising leasing for $61 a week. And what I just thought was interesting about that is that you don't often see leases as advertised per week. They're often per month because that's how most people will choose to pay for it, because that's how we usually budget our money. But $61 per week looks a lot better than the monthly cost of leasing. So if you go in and examine the details, you'll see the difference. So going into the website further, I was able to change it from a weekly leasing amount to a monthly leasing amount. And now it looks a little more normal. Now we're looking at $265 per month, which is much more in line with the actual cost, or much more in line with what we think about when we think about car costs. $61 seems so cheap, but we never think about things as per week costs. Cell phone bills, rent, groceries, we always tend to think of these things as adding up per month. Now there's a bunch of conditions to this lease. So first of all, there's plus tax, so they haven't included the tax, which is, again, they don't have to, by law they don't have to include it, but it's something that will affect you, so you could add an extra 12% to that per month cost. The other thing to consider is down here. This is a 16,000 kilometer per year lease. So if you choose to lease a vehicle, you are not allowed to drive it more than this condition that they set up, and different car manufacturers or different companies will set up different conditions. This one is 16,000 kilometers per year. If you drive it more than that, you will get penalized a certain amount of money per extra kilometer. We'll talk about those in a little bit. Companies really don't like to advertise what the extra charge if you go over that mileage limit is. It's really hard to find. So I had to do a bit of digging to get this number. So the Volkswagen Jetta lease option has a 16,000 kilometer per year limit, which lasts for that whole 5-year interval that you have the car. Any extra kilometers are charged at 15 cents per kilometer. So what I'd like to know is if someone drives 90,000 kilometers in that 5 years, at the end of the lease, they'll look at your odometer and say, how far is this car driven? How much would this person owe at the end of their lease? So to start, we need to know how much over their limit is. So it's a 16,000 kilometer per year limit for 5 years. So it's 16,000 kilometers per year, so times 5 years is a total limit of 80,000 kilometers. So that's their driving limit for the whole lease. Now, if this person drives 90,000 kilometers, which is quite a bit, but for people who use their car a lot, either for long commutes or for business, or if they have, just a lot of commitments or family that they need to drive around to different places, you can get up to this amount in 5 years pretty reasonably. How much would they owe? So the overages would be 90,000 minus 80,000, which is 10,000 kilometers. Then you multiply that by the 15 cents, $0.15 per kilometer, and you're going to get the amount that you're charged. So at the end of the lease, you'd be charged an additional $1,500. And again, when you're talking about whether it's better to finance a car or lease a car, leasing already tends to be the more expensive option over the course of 5 or 10 years, or certainly if you choose to buy the car after the leasing is over, it's going to be more expensive to buy that car outright rather than if you had just financed it the entire time. But now, if you have to add an extra $1,500 on top of that, that leasing option is getting even more expensive. So if you lease a car, you have to really monitor this, that you make sure that you're staying under the limit to avoid these pretty significant charges.